Happy Thursday. Hello, everyone. Hello. Happy Thursday before Thanksgiving. Is that it? I mean, Thanksgiving. Before Christmas.
Woo!
Oh my, how
Hey,
did I get that wrong, right? Happy Thursday before Christmas. That just shows you. And no, I have not been drinking yet. But welcome to another episode of Vegan-ish. I am your host, Dr. Monique. I am your board-certified family physician who you know is a physician in the kitchen. And on this show, we talk about how to move toward a more plant-based diet. I tell you some of my tips and tricks and what I've learned along the way. And we all are here to learn and to share. So welcome to the Thursday before Christmas. Hi there, Mr. Ellis. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. I am looking forward to this show. I'm looking, it's kind of weird. Like 2022 is kind of, it moved fast and slow simultaneously. Is that weird to say? Because there were times where it felt really slow, and then at times it looked like it sped up as we got towards the end of it.
I think since COVID, everything's been just weird. I really think everything has been weird. Like there needs to be like a COVID factor. Like it's just, take the regular thing and then add the COVID factor. So no, I mean, I hear you. I think, I look back and I'm like, okay, the summer it feels like it was a few months ago, but then it doesn't feel like it should be Christmas yet either. So,
right.
So, but yeah, so thank you all for tuning in, for watching us. We like to recognize you wherever you are watching us from. Those of you who are being affected by the weather, I see Columbus, Ohio. Thank you so much. I think it's supposed to be in the Midwest, the bomb cyclone and all this crap. I'm like, bomb cyclone? That doesn't even
sound like a rap. That sounds like a rap name.
That sounds like something I want no part of. I'm in the Southeast, so we've gotten rain, but all of those who are in the path, the millions of Americans are in the path of this craziness that they're predicting, particularly as you travel for Christmas. We hope that you pack your patience and leave early, particularly if you're flying, because you may catch a break later in the day versus later in the day. So
well over 1,700 flights have already been canceled around the country. So and that number is going to go up as this bomb cyclone tour starts tonight.
MC bomb cyclone, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, but we're gonna see bomb cyclone here in Atlanta starting about 3 a.m. and then he's gonna hit it, and the temperature is gonna start going down. So right now it's kind of balmy. It's in the mid to low 40s, and I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. But when I start looking at the tracker, when about 3 a.m., it's going to go down to the 20s, and then it's going to go down to single digits at some point.
In Atlanta? Oh, wow.
Atlanta, right. Okay. In Atlanta. So
Wakanda? I didn't think it got that cold in Wakanda.
Look, bomb cyclone is not playing with y'all, okay? You're dropping a new track.
Well, definitely, you guys, be safe, because when it's that cold, it doesn't take long to frostbite. So you don't need to be out there exposed for long periods of time. So now that we've done the weather, we're going to go ahead and get into Rep Your City. So if you are watching, wherever you're watching us from or joining us from, please be sure to put it in the chat. I see Columbus, Ohio. I see Brookshire, Texas. Please tap somebody, poke them, tell them, come on in, join us. Tonight we're going to do something a little bit different, but yet a little bit the same. We're doing our take on the 12 days of Christmas today. So we're going to be talking about 12 tips or 12 ways to plant-base your diet even more. So stuff we've kind of talked about before. I don't know that we're really shattering any windows here tonight or shattering, but just kind of refreshers for you because, after Christmas is what? New Year's. And what do we all tend to do New Year's on New Year's Eve? We make those resolutions. So we are going to get you in that mindset because one very popular resolution is to eat better, to eat healthier. So we're going to give you some pointers on how to launch into that. So hopefully you've got your low fat eggnog and you're sitting back with your apple cider, which is even healthier for you. And you're watching this by a warm fire, and you all your Christmas gifts are wrapped, and you're just relaxed. You're just chilling. You have tomorrow off. So if that's not you, that's okay. It's okay. You can still come on in. So we're going to talk about 12 ways to make your diet more plant-based. And please be sure to drop your questions in the chat as we go along. This is meant to be a conversation. We like to keep it interactive here. So please put your questions and comments in the chat so we can have this last conversation of the year, because this is my last show with you all for the year. So please, let's make it interactive. So, all right, Mr. Ellis, let's see what we've got. So these are just some things that as you're making your grocery list, your shopping list, as you're looking at that pantry, your cabinets, ways you can just small changes, right? We're not talking about going out and revamping your whole diet, overnight. That's not realistic. Okay. That's going to set you up for failure, for frustration, for giving up. We don't want to do that. So these are things that you can implement slowly but surely and in small increments. And guess what? When you look up, you're getting closer and closer to your goal. So, all right, let's see what the first one is. Nuts. Now, of course, if you are allergic, put your fingers in your ears. This part's not for you. But for those of us who are not allergic to, and these are tree nuts that we're talking about, cashews, pecans, walnuts. I mean, the list goes on and on. Interestingly, this does not include peanuts. Okay, we're going to get to peanuts later, but peanuts are not nuts. Okay, so what we're talking about is pretty much everything else: Brazil nuts, macadamias, you name it. These are a wonderful source of protein, minerals, fiber. And when we say nuts, we don't mean just the form you see there. Remember, these can be in butters, right? Almond butter. You can make milks out of them. So, cashew milk, not oat milk, but cashew milk and almond milk, right? So just think of, when we say nuts, we mean in all its forms. Okay. And so if you're looking to start making those plant-based changes, particularly say dairy, right? If you're trying to get away from dairy, which we'll talk about a little later, this would be a great place is to try, an almond milk, So again, for those of you who are not allergic, and they can be used as, flavor enhancers. We all think, I tend to think about nuts for dessert, but definitely for breakfast. Some cultures use them in their main courses. So lots of different applications for nuts. And so I just want to put that out there, put the plug in there for nuts. For those of you
snacking now, right? Because I used to eat that. I used to get that bowl of chips or whatever, and I said, okay, I've got to eat healthier, so I had to stop with the chips, and I started just mixing some nuts in a bowl, and that's what I snack on in between meals. So to kind of take a little edge off the hunger, but also try to stay healthy and get those nuts in there.
And that's a great point. I do also too want to say, because nuts, they do have high fat content. So let's certainly put that in there. So not saying to go gobble them down, but they are the good kind of fat, right? The fat that helps to keep the arteries open. But there is a calorie count with nuts. So all things in moderation. I like to add them. I make my own bark, which is, you can buy it in the store, like the kind of bars. I make mine at home, melt the chocolate down and you can add your toasted almonds, cashews, pecans, what have you. So, feel free to, or I encourage you to experiment with some of these different uses at home. Make your own granola. You can make your own granola at home, because that way people think, oh, I'm eating healthy, right? I'm eating a granola bar, I'm eating a kind bar, but sugar, right? Yeah. Sugar, preservatives, where you can make some of this stuff for yourself at home, you're going to cut back and eliminate and control those preservatives. All right.
The dry roasted nuts and with the lower sodium, because some of them have a lot of sodium. So you put all that salt on it, and it tastes good, but it could mess with your blood pressure.
Okay. Tina Dangerfield says, I'm definitely trying to get away from dairy. I need a recipe for vegan mac and cheese. What? Have you not gotten my book yet? We've got just the thing for you, Tina. In my book, Doc Fix My Plate, I have a vegan mac and cheese recipe. Of course, there are many on the interwebs, but I do have one that I like that's in my book. But yes, we can definitely get you hooked up with that. Next are grains. So grains are another wonderful source of protein, of fiber, minerals, vitamins. All of these are going to have antioxidants, right? Those healthy plant chemicals that we've talked about, those phytonutrients. Thank you, Ellis. That help you to help that you build your diet on. And the great thing about grains is these are eaten. If you think about it, these are eaten all over the world, right?
Mhm.
Rich countries, poor countries. So they're very economical for the most part. They have a long pantry life, a shelf life in your pantry, and you can literally add them, into anything almost, right? From breakfast to lunch to dinner to even some desserts can be made with grains. So please think about, and when we think about grains, we're not talking about just rice. A few weeks ago, we talked about some of the ancient grains like
Mhm.
amaranth and quinoa and spelt and farro, things like that. But keep in mind, there are a lot out there. The one kind of asterisk we'll put next to this is, of course, gluten. Those that contain gluten. For those who are gluten sensitive or have celiac disease, which is a very severe form of gluten intolerance, you're going to want to stay away from those. Fortunately, there are plenty that don't have gluten. The main ones that kind of come to mind are going to be your rye, your barley, your wheat. Um, that have gluten, but there are tons or several, I won't say tons, but there are many that do not. So be sure to get out there and experiment with them. A lot of them have a nutty taste, a nutty flavor, and when cooked correctly, can really be filling. These are a very filling source of nutrition as well, and great, great, great to have in your pantry. All right. Merry Thursday night, everyone. Thank you, Agnes. The same to you. I can't believe it's almost here. What, 3 more days? Oh my goodness. All right. Next are seeds. And nuts and seeds. I kind of put those two together in my mind, but seeds are actually maybe even better than nuts because typically people are not allergic to these, right? So if you're allergic to nuts, but you typically are not going to have seed allergies, and these are going to include things like on the right, we see pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, you name it. These are all, again, little tiny powerhouses of nutrition, of antioxidants, of immune boosting nutrition that you want to add. These can be used as um, garnish or eaten as snacks, added to that granola or to that bark we were talking about earlier. Um, and also they too are going to have the good fat in them. But yeah, this is another kind of sometimes overlooked maybe, or people may not think of it as a real source of something to have in your pantry. But I highly encourage you to add that. Toasted them. You want
Sunflower seeds.
sunflower seeds, definitely.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, sunflower seeds, because and that's a great substitute for people who are allergic to nuts. There's a condiment called pesto that I make or that is made, and one of the things I recommend is normally made with pine nuts, but for people who are allergic, you can substitute out and use sunflower seeds, and you don't miss anything as far as flavor and taste and things.
Y'all know black folks like some sunflower seeds. I'm just trying to give y'all. I'm trying to give
You
my
know,
people.
back in the day, you used to kind of get them, and you know how you used to do it.
You gotta have it in your hand. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to think about the salt content that we used to eat. I can't. I look back at my younger me, and I'm like, oh my god. But yes, we try to get the unsalted. If you get them in the shells, right? I'm lazy now. I buy the ones already shelled. But yes, back in the day, you could go to town and you.
Oh yeah.
The
And now they
person
get
who
all
really
kind of
good.
flavors with the ranch and the bacon.
Oh my goodness. I just did the plain ones. But then you had a little pile of the shells. It was a
Oh
thing. It
man.
was a whole thing. But little did we know we were eating something fairly healthy. Again, the sodium might have kind of, I don't know how we came out on the other side. But and then remember there are butters that can be made from some of these seeds as well. So experiment with other forms of the seeds as well. Next is mushrooms. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about plants and vegetables, but I really specifically want to call out mushrooms because if you're looking for a meat substitute, right, mushrooms are a real heavy hitter here. So we've got some portobellos, we've got some trumpet and some king oyster and some kind of button mushrooms there. There are lots of different forms of mushrooms. I'm not going to try to name them all. I encourage people though to really play with them because And look for them at your farmer's market. If you're in an area where there's a local farmers market, I highly encourage you to check those out. That's why I've gotten some of mine recently, and it's amazing, even better than what you get in the grocery store, and more variety.
Right.
So lots of different options there. If you're doing a meatless Monday and you want to try mushrooms, I've used mushrooms in anything from butter chicken, which is an Indian dish, to a hoagie steak and cheese, all kind of things. So lots of different ways to use mushrooms. And don't forget about dried mushrooms. Dried mushrooms are a great way to have them in your pantry, not have to worry about them going bad quickly. You just kind of rehydrate them, and you can actually use the fluid or the liquid that you rehydrated them in, use that to make a stock as well, to really layer on the flavors there. So lots of different options there. So Ellis, I think you're a mushroom kind of guy, are you?
I'm
Or
coming back around. There was an article on Black Doctor about there were like 3 different vegetables that are really, really good for you, or things that are good for you that help your health. And mushrooms was on the list. It was like mushrooms, Brussels sprouts, and onions. Were 3 things that I hadn't been eating a lot of, but I had.
onions, really?
Yeah, this just it was the breath thing. It wasn't the fact that it wasn't the flavor. It was just like onions can be really, really strong
Mhm.
in terms of how they hit your mouth, and so you have to get used to it. So I was like, but you know what? I felt like I wasn't a big avocado fan, but I started eating them because I know they're really good for you. So, sometimes you gotta get out of that I don't like it phase and
Right.
get into it. My body needs it phase, and
Yeah.
that's what. So
And
I'm coming back around to mushrooms.
but you make a good point too, because trying it in different ways, you may not like it prepared one way, but you may like it prepared in another way. And the thing about onions, that there's a trick you can try, particularly with red onions, because I tend to, when I cook with red onions or prepare red onions and I'll put them in a salad, I like them raw. But
Mhm.
if you put them in some ice water for about 15 minutes, that can take that bite out of them.
Okay, I'll do that
So
because
try
that.
that. So let them
Woo!
sit in ice water about 15 minutes and drain them, and then see if that takes the edge off for you. Because when I'm cooking or putting them in a salad, and I still want them crispy, so I don't cook them. But they can be rough. So that helps to take some of that edge off.
But they're very good for you. So you got it.
They're excellent for you. They're excellent for you, and they really just enhance onion and garlic. Those two really enhance flavors in just about anything. So.
They do.
All right, next is tempeh. So tempeh looks kind of funny, right? It looks kind of like, what is that? Looks like a marble slab or something. This is a soy product. So this is and it is fermented. So that
Mm,
means it's kind of got some good bacteria kind of going on, and then they process it. I don't know all the steps of making tempeh, but it comes from soybeans. So, and we'll talk about tofu in a second, but tempeh is actually a little bit higher in protein, and this is a good one to use as a meat substitute as well because of the texture. If you, again, when you're trying to, sometimes when you want to substitute meat, you want something kind of that gives you that texture. I've used this, I've sauteed it, and then I'll put it like in my food processor and crumble it up. And then I'll put it in tacos or a bowl or something like that. So
okay.
Ellis doesn't look convinced, but it's all about seasoning. You can see, yeah, it looks pretty bland, doesn't it? I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
that looks hella bland right there. But look at it as a positive, because you take it and it is your canvas on which to create flavor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I've had tempeh in a couple of different ways, and it really can be a nice substitute. It's got a nutty taste, so it's not as mild as tofu, but again, if you've got a nice Worcestershire sauce, or a marinade that you use to really bring out the flavors of the dish that you want, it can be a really nice addition, and it's really has a lot of health benefits as well. All right, we got to get through this list. So next is seitan. So seitan is one of my favorite go-tos for meat replacement. However, this is not going to be for people who are gluten sensitive. This is nicknamed wheat meat, so it has gluten. But you can buy it in the store, but you can also make it yourself. And as you see it there, it's sliced like sandwich meat, believe it or not. I've used it as a turkey replacement on Thanksgiving. Lots of different ways to use seitan, but it's a wonderful, very meaty texture. It's amazing. In fact, it could be a little too meaty, depending on how you make it. But keep this in mind for another way to increase more plants than
It
meat.
looks like you could put it on a charcuterie board if you try to make
You probably could. You very well could. Yes, sir. A vegan charcuterie board. Exactly.
it. Yep.
Next, we've got tofu. So we've mentioned it. So everyone knows about tofu. I think tofu is kind of, I don't think we need to talk too much about this. But again, it's bland, but it's a perfect canvas. And all we have pictured here are the extra firm or the firm ones. But keep in mind, it does come in different forms. Silken tofu is a great one to use. It's an egg replacement. You can use it to make like sauces or dressings or things like that with it. So remember, just, there is a solid, but there's also a silken, which is much more creamy than what we see here. And
And
it's also
this is a soy, but it's made from soy, right?
exactly made from soy. Kind of like they press it and then they make it into these blocks. And I keep some frozen in my freezer. I think we've talked about on here before. Another way to make the texture even meatier is you freeze it fully, defrost it, freeze it again, and then defrost it, and then you press the water out of it, and it has a much meatier. People use it as a chicken substitute when you do it that way. Like,
And just kind of make a suggestion for those
yeah,
folks that can't go cold turkey. I would say cut some of this up, and then like if you're using something, like if you're making tacos, you could use half tofu, half and then work your way into using going to tofu instead of going straight from meat to tofu, because that could be a dramatic change on your palate. But if you mix it in, because there's some places that I go here that they'll have like the lettuce wraps, and
mhm.
they do half chicken, half tofu, and you don't know it until you actually read the menu or you're talking about it, and they tell you, and you go, wait, and then I looked and said, oh, there is tofu, and you don't notice it because it does really absorb the flavor well. So you do that, and then you can start just using more and more tofu, and once you get it seasoned with the taco seasonings, you won't even notice the difference.
Yep, it's good. It's good. Good idea. So next is seaweed. I do this one on here because this one is, some people don't always think about this, but yes, you can eat certain forms of seaweed. It is a flavor bomb. It adds umami, which is one of the flavor profiles, which is kind of savory. Think like mushrooms, meat, tomatoes. That flavor, that taste, that's what we call umami. And seaweed is a wonderful source of that, in addition to being a source of vitamins and minerals as well. And it can give you, like, if you're doing like a fish type substitute, think about adding some seaweed, because that could be a very nice little hidden gem in your pantry. Marcus says he'll have to try freezing the tofu. Yes, definitely freeze it, defrost it, freeze it, and defrost it, and then let me know how that works for you. Next, we've got, and whole foods. So this goes without saying, right? Whole foods, specifically fresh fruits and vegetables. We've talked about different ways to incorporate them. Just want to kind of just remind you of what we're talking about when we say whole foods, meaning not processed. Because everything that's vegan doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy for you. And a perfect example are like the meat replacements, like Beyond Burger or Impossible Meat or whatever it's called. They're plant-based, but they're also highly processed. So they're going to have high levels of sodium. Some of them have high levels of saturated fat. They may be cholesterol-free, but you also are trading out for that. So just want to encourage, the least processed the food is, the better it is for you. You're getting those nutrients. Next, we've got protein-rich fruits. And I wanted to call these out specifically because another concern that people have, oh, am I going to get enough protein? And we've talked about this before on here, but am I going to get enough protein when I switch to a plant-based diet? And the answer is yes. And like the foods that we've gone through, a lot of them are very high in protein, but there are fruits that can also be used. So here you've got a jackfruit. This is what fresh jackfruit looks like. When we use it as a savory meat replacement, it doesn't look like that. It looks more like shredded or pulled pork, but that's about 3 grams or so per cup. Avocado is a great source. Whole is going to have more protein than mashed. And then that funny looking fruit on the end is guava. Guava has a high source, about 3 grams. I'm sorry, about a gram and a half per cup as well. So just keep that in mind. You can get some decent protein from fruits. We don't tend to think of fruit; we think of that more with carbs, but these have a little bit more than protein than other
Now,
fruits.
avocado also has some other benefits. Isn't like some good fats there in
Oh,
avocado
definitely.
as well?
Yep. Definitely. Auntie Safer says she still eats chicken. She found a great tofu taco recipe. That sounds delicious. And thank you for joining us from Baltimore. I love it. Thank you so much. Stay warm there. Next, we've got dairy. Now, this one is near and dear to my heart because, it's for me who grew up on dairy like most of us. I still like my milk. I still like my butter. I still like my cheese. But I do plant based. So we talked a little earlier about how you can make nut milks and oat milk and things like that. So you still get the milk, but you're getting it from the plant versus animals. And I was just telling my son this the other day. We're the only animal, we're the only mammal who give the milk of another, and who's young drinks the milk of another animal, right? Like
Yep.
that doesn't really happen. So trying to, wean off of that to more plant-based. You can make vegan butter, you can buy vegan butter, and then of course you can make cheese. Cashew, interestingly enough, a lot of yogurt, like a dairy, plant-based yogurt or cheeses have a cashew base to them. So again, if you're allergic, not quite going to work out for you, but there are ways to make things creamy using like a cashew base as well. So that's something you'll see very commonly. And then last we have legumes. So we mentioned earlier about nuts. Legumes are the category that contains peanuts and also contains your beans, your lentils, your chickpeas, kidney beans. All that are going to be in this category, jam packed full of nutrients, proteins, fiber. I mean, you cannot go wrong with these. If you're new to eating beans and lentils and so forth, start low, go slow because it can cause some, stomach issues. But these are great to have in the pantry. They have a long half life. They are very flexible. They're economic. I mean, just lots of good things. It can be the basis of a meal. You can put them in soup, stews, eat them with rice. Lots of different ways to use them. So just want to put that out there. There's a question about how hard safe is vegan butter. I'm always concerned in this area. And that's a great question. Again, if you make it yourself, the homemade vegan butter is probably going to be even better for you than the store bought. It depends on the brand. Some of the brand I use, they make some with olive oil, avocado oil. You want to look at the saturated fats because if it's high in saturated fat, that is not heart healthy. Um, but that being said, if you're using it in small amounts, it's probably okay. But yeah, vegan butter, if it's processed, that can be a concern. And I would say that if it's got high sodium and high saturated fat levels, you would want to not use that as much. Great question. So if you want more information about how to plant-based your pantry, I got you. I got a course called plantbaseyourpantry.com. You can go there, sign up. There's lots more information on how to plant-base your pantry. And, you get on my email list, and it's about a 1-hour course. And we have a special rate through the rest of the year for only $47. And so you can sign up at plantbaseyourpantry.com. The book is Doc Fix My Plate, The Physician in the Kitchen's Prescriptions for Your Healthy Meal Makeover. And that is at docfixmyplatebook.com. And my cooking classes. So we've got you covered. We've got you going into the new year. Whatever questions you have about eating a new plant-based diet, we've got you. So we got it done. Mr. Ellis, we are done for the year. I am not going to see you guys again until 2023. I'm going to miss you.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we can say we'll see you next year.
See you next
I
year.
just want to
See
say,
you next year.
uh, here in 2022, I want to say thank you to Dr. Monique, and I'm going to say it on behalf of the people that are watching. Um, you have really helped change lives. That the people that are watching this program, and I can speak specifically for me. It's changed my life in a good way because I have been really more intentional about eating vegetables and what I put into my body. And it took a small like health, labs were off just a little bit, and I said, wait a minute. But I knew what to do, and I went back and started watching some of those programs, And I started to say, okay, I need to start doing this. I need to start enacting this in my life. And it did, and everything has really started to. I've started to feel better. I feel cleaner. I feel healthier, and it's all because I just coming here and listening to this and hearing you bang on this. So I make a lot of jokes, and I do a lot of pushing back, but it really is impacting in a very positive way in my life.
Well, I love it. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you, because this is my passion, and so to be able to share my knowledge and expertise is it really means a lot. So thank you for that. Um, so she said the website goes essentially plantbasedyourpantry.com. That we will check into that. That should not be going there. Thank you for letting me know.
Now,
Um,
base doesn't have a D on it. It's just plant based, BASE, plant based.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
put a D on it because I almost did that myself. I had to look at it again. So it's plant based.
Oh yes, plant-based your pantry. Thank you. Yes. No, because I'm
So try that. Make sure because
yeah, I'm on here now and it's working fine. So yeah, try it without the D. Thank you though, Nina. If you are still having a problem, just put a comment and we'll circle back to you.
yeah.
But yes, so I'm wishing you all the merriest of Christmas, the happiest of Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, all the holidays, and look forward to seeing you in the safe and happy new year. Take care, everyone.
See y'all.